Welcome back everyone to another video, and in this video I'm going to go through all locations that are currently under $450,000 which you can consider. So the first location we're going to talk about is Hamilton, which is in Victoria, and you can find properties in this location for around $450,000. And when we start to look at the data behind it, you can see you get a yield of about 4.4 to up to about 5% I've seen across some deals, and we're starting to see the first signs of positive price movement across the 1 month and 1 quarter change. The median rents aren't rising very fast, but they are still around the 2% range, so pretty good. It is a heavily owner-occupied area with only 23% being renters and a pretty good ersatz score of 3. And one thing you will notice is that it's an extremely affordable area for locals to actually own property in, so it allows for plenty of room to grow in terms of property prices. And what you will start to notice is that the stock levels in Hamilton are rapidly decreasing, which will put pressure on the market and we'll start to see house prices increase. And what we can also see is the days on market starting to drop month on month, which is also a great sign. It's extremely tight on the vacancy, so finding a tenant shouldn't be a problem. And this is one location that you want to be considering. And just to show you an example of a property, you can find this nice brick house for around $410,000, which was sold on the 16th of May. Whenever I decide to release this video, prices may have already started to move, but this is an example of a property that you can purchase, rent out. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. It's a little bit dated and also has a jacuzzi, but it is nice nonetheless. And this is an example of a property that you can purchase in Hamilton for under $450,000. And this video is purely to make you aware of these locations, and it's up to you to make sure you do your diligence about the area and make sure you're picking the right location that fits your investment strategy. Now, also Hamilton's occupation, if you start to scroll down on ABS statistics, you can see a lot of professional workers, technicians and trades, community and personal service workers, and industries of employment you can mainly see is hospitals, local government jobs, supermarket and secondary education. So a small economy but still diverse nonetheless, and a small regional town of course carries its risks, but at the moment this is one of the locations that is quite affordable and you can find properties under $450,000. And I'm talking about houses specifically, right? No units, no townhouses, just houses. What about another location? Now, the next location I want to talk to you about is Moe, which is in the Latrobe region. Now, both Moe and Morwell do have properties under $450,000. Please be aware these are not the nicest areas by any means, but if you're looking for properties within a very specific budget, then these are other locations that you can consider. And when you start to look at Moe's data, you can get around 400 median buy price with about a 5% yield. So it's very good in terms of the numbers, and you can see prices have started to increase with the month and quarter change looking very positive. Like I said, lower socioeconomic area, higher renters, but still acceptable with only 34% as renters. It is still affordable under 30 years, which is good for us to see. And what I like to see is with the stock levels dropping and the demand also start to increasing, which means we'll start to see house prices increase. And if we start to look at the recent sales, this one was sold on 18th of June for $428,000. So there are properties out there that you can purchase, may not be the best quality, but there are still opportunities out there for under $450,000. This is an example of that property. It's quite a nice one actually as well. And so that's another location you can consider. And a side note as well, you can consider Morwell, like I mentioned before, but Latrobe region is really starting to pick up. There's a lot more BAs there. There's a lot more investors there. Even our community members have been investing in this location for the past 3 to 4 months. So it is quite hot. There's no two ways about that. So definitely go in there with the right expectations. You're going to have to make connections. You're going to have to talk to a lot of agents to find those sort of deals. However, it's still out there. All right. The next location I want to talk about is Devonport, and Devonport is on the top of Tasmania, but it is a very important little town, if I do say so myself. Now, Devonport is a location where you can find properties for under $450,000 with the median price around $533, but then you start to look at 3 bedrooms around $508K, and there are definitely opportunities out there, and I'll show you one for example with around a 4 to 4.5% yield. So not the best yield, but it's still there. Now, prices are starting to increase, much like all of these locations I'm talking to you about. I don't really point out locations which have shown no price movement. So Devonport is one of those locations where prices are increasing. Median rents have risen by 3.6% over the last year, which is really good. Not as great as 5% plus, but it is still good nonetheless. And when you start to look at affordability, it's just in our thresholds of 35 years for a regional town, but there is great great value in Devonport, in my opinion, with 36 rented to owner occupier ratio. Still a lot of owner occupiers in that area. And what we like to see, the short-term trends of Devonport is very positive. The short-term trends of the demand levels is also increasing, which is really important for capital growth. And remember, data lag. So this will only, from what I hear on the ground, this will start to improve as well. So of course, do your own due diligence, but Devonport does have this opportunity. This one offers over $390,000, a nice brick house, corner block, dated interior, but still, nonetheless, it is still a good home for around that $450,000 mark. Could do some work with the carpets. Now, to be completely honest and transparent, this one is very close to the highway, but if you are on a very strict budget, then you're going to have to make trade-offs. And this is an example of one where you can secure an asset for under $400,000 or under $450,000. So that's another opportunity for you guys, for you to go have a check out and do your due diligence on that location. Before I go any further, I am going to do a very special offer for those who are interested in the Property Blueprint course. This is a course that I developed for a very affordable price to compete with all the big players. This Property Blueprint will teach you everything that you need to know about investing and buying the right sort of assets and properties. And we had over 100 people buy the actual course and use it and utilize it and go ahead and buy many properties. So this is one course that you want to be trying out. And if you're wondering what that special offer is, I will offer you this course for $299 as a once-off. So you get access to the entire course for $299. But to be very clear, normally I do offer the course with 6 months membership into the private community. But if you want to get access to this very special offer, which I'll run for the next 48 hours, you will not get access to the private community. It is purely the information, purely the resources. So if you're looking for a self-paced course that you can do in your own time to increase your knowledge about buying property, then you can access it for $299. It is an absolute steal, and I'm doing it to just make it more affordable for property education. That is all I really care about. So make sure you get it right now because this offer will not last long. All right, what's the next location we are finding properties under $450,000? Well, that's Windery. This location is about 2 hours away from the CBD of Melbourne. It is a location that is pretty economically diverse. It is a growing location, and Windery is one of those suburbs that you want to be considering if you are interested in properties under $450,000. And when you start to look at the data behind it, one thing you will notice is that prices have really started to increase with about 1.4% growth over the past quarter. Rents have not been rising. That is one problem with Windery and Ballarat in general. The yields are extremely low. So you need to factor that into your cost analysis and make sure that you can hold on to the property during these periods of capital growth. There is higher rent to owner occupier ratio around 43%. It's not ideal, but it is a trade-off you may wish to make to purchase in a location like this. Affordability is still very good under 35 years. That is what we like to see. And stock levels are dropping and demand has absolutely picked up over the past couple of months and it's only going to get worse from here. Properties are still hard to come by for under $450,000, but there are still opportunities out there. For example, like this one here, it's a weatherboard home in Windery for around $420,000 in decent condition, not the best condition, but still pretty good compared to other properties that I have seen. It is a small 3-bedroom house, but it is an asset that you can pick up for under $450,000. It is on a main road like the other one that I did show you. However, if you are strict and if you are tight on the budget, then you will have to make trade-offs. It's not necessarily going to stop prices from growing, but it could be an opportunity for you to get into the market. Like usually I would say stay away from T-junctions, for example, here and main roads. But if you got $450K and you want to buy in a large regional hub that's close to the CBD, then this is one location that you may have to consider. So Windery is another location that you guys can jump into the market for under $450,000. I don't think it will last long, to be quite honest with you. Now, another location you may wish to consider is Leeton in New South Wales. Now, Leeton is a small regional town located very close to the growing regional, I would say, hub of Griffith. This has really picked up over the last couple of months in terms of growth and price growth, and nearby Leeton will likely also start to increase in price as more and more investor activity happens in this area. Now, Leeton is a location where you can pick up properties for under $450K. Stock is very low, but prices are increasing. We're already seeing about 5% growth over the past year with absolutely no rental growth, but that's okay. 450k for just looking for capital growth perspective. Affordability is extremely good, under 35 years, under 30 years, and stock levels and demand levels are both picking up, and this is the perfect combination of capital growth, and hence why we're seeing the growth in the area up here. Now, one thing you do need to call out in Leeton is that most of its economy or its exports is tied to manufacturing. So if something were to happen to manufacturing, then we could see job loss and people leaving the area. But that is a risk that you do take when you invest into small regional towns. They're not going to be very largely economically diverse. However, it's something you have to take into consideration if you have a very strict budget. And you might see a running theme with this video so far. These locations are in small regional towns, most of them anyway. But you can find properties like this for under $450,000. This one's pretty good, pretty renovated. I expect it to go a bit more than 450k, but nonetheless, it is still a good, reasonable house that you guys can purchase on 961 square meters of block of land. So that's one other location that you guys can check out if you are interested in purchasing in New South Wales, for example. The next location I want to talk about is Corio. Now, at the time of recording, you still could find properties under $450,000, but by the time I release this video, I'm not too sure anymore. But this is a location that's been under 450k, under $500,000 for quite some time, but it has really picked up over the last couple of months, where Geelong in general has become extremely competitive. It is no longer a cool market. It's definitely a hot market, or riding toward a hot market, and Corio is starting to see prices increase with positive price movement over the past quarter now. It is a pretty low socioeconomic area with a high renter to owner occupier ratio, and affordability is quite questionable near 40 years. However, that's not going to stop prices from increasing. As we can see, stock levels are absolutely plummeting to the ground, with demand levels just absolutely rising over the past couple of months. Corio is another location that should be on your watch list if you are looking to buy properties under 450k. You're not going to get the highest quality property. They will need some work. They might not be in the best pockets. They might have some work to be done, might be near a highway, but trade-offs need to be made if you're looking at a large regional hub as well as under $450,000. Corio is one that should be on your list, so please go check it out. And I think just to entail off the video, some other locations under $450,000 that I think are worth mentioning. One is Tamworth. Tamworth is another location where you can find some properties under $450,000 at the moment, but not for long. But the way that the regional markets in New South Wales and Victoria are moving, I don't think Tamworth will stay quiet for that much longer. And one other location you may wish to consider is Taree in New South Wales. Now, please be careful. They very recently had some quite significant floods, so a large portion of Taree will be under a flood zone or could be flood damage. So you might see some cheap properties come out. Avoid those, but there might be some pockets in Taree which I've seen where you can pick up properties for $450,000. But please, please, please do your own due diligence. Make sure you are buying the right quality asset in this area. This is one that I'm very umming and ahhing about because of the known floods and what's recently happened, but it is something you may wish to look into. And you're at the end of the video and you are looking to invest yourself and you are looking to learn about property investing for a very cheap price of $299. Make sure you get this offer. It's only going to last for 48 hours. You don't get access to the private community, but you get $200 off. It is an absolute steal to get resources for a lifetime. So make sure you get it now. Till next time, thank you very much.